You can take your belt and shove it up your ass.
And I don't know why I'm having this weird lucid moment with you, Lou. But,
I get them out of everybody, damn it. I get them all the time.
It was like as soon as that company came in to team up with Gilberg's and they started running their like wrestling show tapings out of Gilberg's school and stuff, I was like, my fucking days here are numbered.
Yeah.
Like I know that my days are numbered, and sure as shit they were.
I'm good. You're welcome for having me. It's lovely to be had. I appreciate it. The Gigolo deserves that, but I appreciate the effort anyways. It's just natural to me. It just I'm a big fan of Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey. Um, that he's a big inspiration. The Heavenly Bodies were a big inspiration for me. It's just something different, you don't see, and I got the looks for it. I got the body for it, so I just went with it. Mm. I haven't, I tell people all the time I'm a mix between Adrian Adonis and guys like Buddy Landell. Um, so I do, with the cancel culture is a big thing nowadays. So I haven't really had a lot of, I'm pretty good at kind of, sometimes I have to rein it in. I have had some instances, shows before in other places, where, I've had fans complain to the promoter and just different things like that. Um, but with the cancel culture, you got to be very, very careful what you say, because all it takes is one thing, and then boom, you're done. But so far, I've been pretty lucky with that. But I try to be aware of it. But APW's been great. I enjoy working for Joe. I think he's got a good mind for the business, and I really appreciate what they're trying to do up there. Oh, it can be hectic sometimes. You know what I mean? It's anytime you're doing a live show like that, you're walking on a tightrope. Um, Normally, my partner Cadillac, he's fairly new to the business, so I try to spend most of my time that I'm there with him, trying to mentor him and trying to help him from making some of the mistakes that I made early on, and working on the Gigolo Incorporated deal that we got going on up there. But and then you go out, you do the show, film the promos and everything. I'm always thinking of stuff, for the promos, and it's different doing a live television show like that. It's a lot different. There's a lot more to think about. You got to be aware of the cameras. Fortunately, I spent some time at the School of Morton in the past years, and that's where I really learned doing their shows. They had a show on Fight TV for a little bit. Now I think now their show's on YouTube. But that's where I really got aware of working with the hard camera and being aware of the cameras and not just the crowd. Independent wrestling, you're worried about the people in the audience, not so much the camera or whatever. That's kind of an afterthought. Yeah. Yeah. I am 29. I started training when I was 11. I think that was in like 2006, 2007. So I think it'll be 19 years this September. I think something like that. Yeah, fortunately, I had a lot of good instructors up at BWC. Some guys that were actually real popular in the West Virginia scene, guys like Frank Parker, Sean, the loose cannon, Sean Cruz, the one from Virginia, not the one from North Carolina, Scotty Blaze, J.C. Dykes Jr., um, was it Rick Kelly, Scott Rains, Mike Williams, just a lot of great guys that kind of helped me. Boogie was always a great mentor. Just a lot of guys that helped me along the way. This has been it's always a learning process. I learn something new every weekend I go out there. Every time I go out there, I learn something new. It's a continuing learning process. So I'm still learning with him, but I just had the advantage of being around the block a few more times. I was a big fan. My dad took me to a Legends show here in Waynesboro, Virginia, and Jimmy was there. Jimmy Valiant was there, and I met him, and I'd asked him about training, and they were fine with me coming up and training at 11. And I started that. I had my first pro match when I was 13 in Vail, North Carolina. I wrestled 3 times that night in the rain. It was an outside show. Um, yeah, and it's just been I've been hooked ever since. Yeah, yeah, in the rain. I remember being nervous. It was outside in a field, this little town in North Carolina. There's nothing there. They didn't even have a fast food restaurant. It was a the guy owned it was like a garage slash video rental place, and they had some tanning beds in the back, and he had this old rickety ring that he supposedly bought from like Wahoo McDaniel's or somebody. It was an old like Crockett TV ring or whatever with the it had the big like the plastic PVC pipes on the ropes or whatever. So when you hit them, they made that pop. Yeah, and I remember going out for the first match that I had and taking the first bump and just water coming up all from where it had been, the ring had been sitting out there in the rain, the pad had soaked all of that up. Of course, it was just everything out there on the fly. It was my first time in front of people. I'd had matches at camp and stuff before in front of like 3 or 4 people, but you get out there in front of 70, 80, 100 people. It's a whole different ball game, whole different energy. And of course, oh, go ahead. Of course, I'm 13 at the time too, so I don't really have a grasp of the finer psychology at this point. I'm just going out there and I'm listening to my instructors that I'm working with and just kind of, going through the motions and learning at the weather factory. Yeah, and this is a different time too. This is probably 2008 maybe. And so there's no real social media. There's like MySpace, and there's no like smartphone with a video camera on it that you can film it with really easy. You gotta have a handheld, a camcorder and a tripod set up somewhere if you want to record your match. Um, you got to have your music on a CD because there's no Wi-Fi at the time. There's no the sound guy downloading something. I still keep the CD in my bag to this day. 'Cause you never know. You go to some of these little nowhere towns or whatever. They're not gonna, what I'm saying. I've been some places for PWL that there's no cell phone service. I had to buy a road atlas. I can't remember the town. I want to say War, West Virginia. I had to buy a road atlas because we got up there and the GPS got us into War, West Virginia. And there's no cell phone service for Verizon or whatever I have when we get there. So I don't know how to get out. So I had to go to the Dollar General and get a road atlas, and work my way out of there like that. But yeah, anyways, right, right, yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, back that night in 2008, yeah, this was a different time. This was it's the business totally changed from the time I started to what it is now, and I'll touch on some of that later. And I worked that first match. We did a battle roll, and then I came out and worked another match. Now that second match that I had with the loose cannonshine crews, he probably went 20 minutes with me, and that's a testament to what a great athlete and great worker he was or is. He's retired now. To be able to go out there and carry me for at 13 years old, I was a big kid. I was almost as big as him. He might have been a little bit taller than me, but I was a pretty big kid. So, but to be able to go out there and carry me for 20, 25 minutes like that, looking back on it now, it's amazing. I wouldn't have had to do it. Well, it's really helped with the the promotion end of it, of course. It's a lot easier for like I could take the smartphone right now and splice together a highlight reel of my stuff if I need to and send it out. Um, getting matches out. Like I sent you some of my matches before this. You could go to there all that stuff was on YouTube now. Before you would have to. It was extremely difficult to take to put upload something like that, a 20-minute match onto YouTube back then. Very difficult. So it's a lot harder to now you can send a highlight reel or promo package to a promoter, and it's a lot easier. It can hurt you. I've seen some guys mess it up too. It's a double-edged sword, but it I think it's helped us. It's helped the business as a whole for good. It has. It's done a lot for the. It's a lot easier to get booked. I've been all up and down the East Coast, and all that's from social media. All that's from Facebook. You're able to reach out and talk to all these promoters. Before it was very very hard. You had to know somebody or find out that where there was a show and just show up early enough and hope you got there in time and help them set up the ring and hope maybe somebody didn't show up and always have your bag with you. Now you can reach out and talk to these people. It's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Very important. And your presence on there is very important. Trying to carry yourself like a professional is very important. But it's a big change. Everything's out there now. Everything, if you have a bad match or something, even if you don't post it, somebody, a fan or something is liable to post clips. So yeah, you have to be really aware of that stuff. Oh yeah, they'll put their yeah. I'm a big proponent of you won't see anything personal about my personal life or my political views or any of that stuff on my social media. It's strictly for promotional purposes only. A lot of guys, like you said, they don't get that. They'll just go out there and just say whatever, put all their stuff on there. I don't. If you don't carry yourself like a star in this business, perception's reality. If you don't carry yourself like a star, then these people aren't going to see you as a star, and why are they going to go pay $15 to come and see some regular person that they can talk to every day at their work or something like that? Just they don't get that there. They're not, they don't think that far ahead. Yeah. Um. In some ways, the culture is a little less toxic maybe than it was. A little less gatekeeping going on. The guys are a lot more athletic now. The matches are more faster paced. It's because the culture's changed, and I'm trying to think of some good things to say about it, but it's not as not how I would like it to be. I guess at least what I would define as good. Yeah. So I feel like we're in the video game generation. If you go out and watch some of these matches that these guys are having today, It looks like something straight out of 2K. It looks they'll hit a move, pick the guy up, do something else. It's just there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. It's very and I do blame a lot of that on the the video games and stuff. I think a lot of these kids, they play 2K and they think they can they can wrestle. They know what they're doing, and they have no idea. Same thing with promoters too. Dude gets his tax refund and plays 2K a couple times. All of a sudden, he's going to run a promotion because he played the general manager mode on 2K. It's just so there's a lot of that, and it seems like when I broke in, the guys were they were interesting characters. They were men, you know what I mean. They were tough. They were a little eccentric, a little wild, and that's kind of calmed down. I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, but yeah, the guys seem to be a little more. I don't know, square is I guess the word I'm looking for today. They're, they're just some dude in kick pads. Nobody has a gimmick anymore. It reminds me of like that. What's the game the kids play now? Fortnite, where they have the skins or whatever. That's what it reminds me of. It's like yeah, I don't have a character or anything. I just got a different color kick pad this week or something like that. You know what I mean? There's nothing there. You know what I mean. Then that's not everybody. There are guys that are characters out there, but it's not as prevalent as you saw maybe years ago. Yeah, yeah. There's not a lot of characters. Um, just that there weren't there's not any characters. There's not anybody kind of pushing the envelope. An eccentric, eccentric character. I try to be a little androgynous. There's nobody doing that anymore. Because it's almost a lost art. I like to. I've been asked to describe the style that I work in before, and the best way I can describe it is like a hybrid of the old school Mid Atlantic style and Memphis style. The characters there. That's I'm a huge Jerry Lawler mark. I love all old Memphis stuff, and there's no I just realized I looked around and it's like there's no characters. You see these guys on the posters and they just look like anybody else. You know what I mean? There's nobody. There's no real. I don't. And I appreciate the guys that are just good workers that go out there and have solid matches and stuff. But you gotta have a little razzle dazzle. You need a little something, especially nowadays, to stand out. And um, Buddy Roberts is another one. I was a big fan of and old Portland stuff. So I try to. Jim Cornette says it's plagiarism when you steal from one person, research when you steal from many. So I try to take a few things from some different guys that I like and just come up with something different that you're not really seeing here. Probably a lack of imagination. They're influenced by the product that they've seen. The WWE doesn't really, not you cut on AEW or WWE, you're not going to see any real gimmicks or characters. And I think there's just a byproduct of that is what I really think it is the byproduct of that. And they just some guys are yeah, they're scared to go out there. And if you're going to be a good heel, if you're going to be a good heel, you cannot be afraid to fall on your face. You cannot be afraid to make yourself look like an ass. There's no way around that. These people either got to hate you or love you to draw money. And if you can't make them love you, then you're gonna have to make them hate you. And it's much more natural for me to piss people off than it is to get them to like me. So whatever it takes. Yeah, yeah. You run into these guys. and they're the worst because the guys with the egos you can't help. You can't tell them a better way. You can't. They think they know it all. And I've been all up and down the East Coast. I've done some pretty cool stuff. You know what I mean? I've never been to the Fed or nothing like that, but I've done some pretty cool stuff. And you go to some of these places, and these guys haven't been out of town, haven't had a cup of coffee anywhere. But they think they're God's gift to pro wrestling, and you know what I mean. But they've never been outside their hometown. They can't draw any money outside their hometown. They can't get over outside their hometown. You run into guys like that, and they think they know it all, and you can't do. There's nothing you can do with that. There's nothing I cannot help you one bit. You get guys that go out there and they don't know their place on the card. They'll go out there in the first match and do every fucking move they got, dive, do whatever, and they don't realize that there's 6 other matches after them that's got to follow that. They don't process that, and there's nobody telling them any different either. These promoters don't care. You get a lot of promoters that are just marks that got a little bit of money and they want to run a show, so they don't know any better, so they just let them do whatever. That's a lost art too, and knowing your place on the card and what you're there for. That a lot of guys don't get, and their ego, they just can't handle not being the star. Right. Well, if you brother, if you pay, I don't care. I really don't care. I'm gonna do my thing. But if you're paying me, I'm gonna do basically what you want me to do. Within reason or whatever. That's all that really matters. At the end of the day, this is a business, right? That's all that really. I care about the business, but also at the end of the day, really, the main thing I care about is how much money is in that envelope at the end of the night. Pure Pro Wrestling, yes, sir. We're based out of North Carolina and Southwest Virginia. And like I was telling you earlier, we basically have a modern day territory where they run shows 3 to 4 times a month. They within everything's within maybe 100 miles of where I'm at, 90 or 100 miles. We come up to Northern Virginia some, Clifton Forge, which is on the border to West Virginia, New Hope, Virginia, but mainly we're down here in Southwest Virginia where I'm at, and it's there's not a I've never worked for another independent promotion like this. This is busy. This is serious stuff. I got a 1099 this year from them. For that. Yeah. So I mean, there's no other. I've never had another promoter send me a 10. I've never had another promoter really make me enough money to even warrant being able to send me a 1099. You know what I'm saying? So and I still travel some, but I've kind of wound down to focus on what we have here because I realized in the long run that it's going to be better for me. And it's going to be better for everybody, the boys in the area, the fans. It's going to be better for everybody, and it's really what I hope professional wrestling is going to get back to. Uh, we got a lot of great talent down there. You got the Gigolo, of course, but you got guys like our heavyweight champion Wyatt Sutton, the River City Wrecking Ball, um, Lee Valiant, Callus Miller, Ivan Ali, Aubrey Wright. They've done a pretty good job of getting some of the best local talent, within the area. Um, we have a spot on BTW 21 out of Martinsville, Virginia, the local TV deal with them. Um, let's see, I'm trying to think. We got guys like Rick Reeves, Colton Cage. These are good young talent that they have good minds for the business, and they're really great athletes, man. They blow me away every time I go out to watch one of their matches or do commentary on one of their matches. It just great stuff. We've had a bunch of great opportunities. We just did a pregame show for the Rail Yard Dogs in Roanoke, Virginia. So we actually had a show in the Roanoke Civic Center with about 700 people, 800 people before the Rail Yard Dogs, the semi-pro hockey team played. Um, and we're running every weekend, just about. I think last weekend I was in Pelham, North Carolina. This weekend we'll be in Ridgeway, Virginia. Um, they just a bunch of great opportunities. We have Ricky and Kerry Morton in a lot. They were just recently our tag champions. It's just really great promotion. It's one of the better promotions that I've worked for, um, and I really look forward to trying to help grow this. Yeah. I'll do the. I'll go in and set in and stuff like that on the commentary with Bit Don, and yeah, every now and then, especially if it's a match, I want to see if it's like if I'm interested in the guy or I want to give him some feedback or something like that. I'll go out and sit and do commentary, and that way I can watch it. I go in. We do a little talk show. So I think the show airs on BTW on like Tuesday nights, and then Wednesday nights or Thursday nights at 10 o'clock, we have like a talk show. So it helps just keep me informed to when we go down and film the in studio talk show and everything. Yeah, yeah. We have a pretty good social media following too, as well. We have some stuff on YouTube. The social media, that's another thing that's really helped. We still do a lot of physical advertising too, flyers and stuff like that. In today's day and age, you kind of got to have both. Yeah. Yeah. Y- Yeah, I do. I got a pretty good one for you. I'm gonna I'm gonna leave the names of the guys I was riding with out of this just to protect the guilty and the innocent uh, alike. But we got booked on this deal in Miami, Florida called Reefer Mania, right? And I think this was a year before last. So I had a show here in Danville, Virginia, that Friday night. We left from there. Um, the five of us, and went from straight from there to Miami, right? And I actually had one of my buddies who's not in the wrestling business. He really didn't know anything about the wrestling business, and I brought him along with us. We actually used his car to go down there, but it was like 12 hours, 12-hour drive. We drove straight down there through the night. Just took turns sleeping in the car and everything, which by the way is very hard. Like if you're not used to it, it took me several months to get used to being able to sleep in a car sitting up. It's very hard. But anyways, we get down there and it's I knew it was going to be a weed festival, but it was like a big pop up. It was they had essentially how the guys will come in, you'll have gimmick tables set up. Well, these people had like gimmick tables set up, but they were selling like weed and shrooms and shit. Now I'm from here in Virginia, it's the weed's legal, so it didn't surprise me. But the guys I was with, they're from a state where it's not legal, so they were mind blown. But during the intermission, I was walking around looking at the tables or whatever, and I see they have these shrooms. So I get like an eighth of shrooms or whatever, right? From this dude, it's a table, and we work our match. Everything's good. So we're actually supposed to be in Bluefield for Jeff Paul the next day, right? And so my buddy's gonna drive the first shift back, so I figure we'll split these shrooms up. He didn't want any, so he's gonna drive or whatever. And one of the other guys with us didn't take it, but so I ate like a small amount. My partner ate a small amount, and one of the other guys we were with, I handed him the bag, and I figured he was gonna take a small amount out and eat them. Well, he ate the rest of the bag or whatever. So we're trying to get out of Miami, and it's I think it was in December. It's in December, and this horrible storm hits, right? And it was just the craziest shit. It was, I- it's I don't know how to describe it. It was just the worst storm you could possibly imagine. I don't know if you ever drove in Florida a lot, but they drive wild down there and shit. So it was the very aggressive driving situation or whatever. And I'm in the front passenger seat, and at this point, I've made up my mind that we're just gonna die at any time. There's cars like that's wrecked from the rain and stuff. we're on the interstate or whatever, and it's like a concrete, like a Jersey wall on each side of us, and there's it's 2 lanes, and there's a car that's like spun around totally in the opposite direction. I'm like, you cannot make this shit up. So I told my bitch driving, I'm like, dude, we got to stop somewhere or whatever. We got to go in, maybe get something to eat or whatever. Try to let this rain pass, But at the same time, we're like grinding, trying to get back. 'Cause we got to be in Bluefield for Sunday afternoon, or not Bluefield, but yeah, it's Bluefield. The skating center they run. Yes, that was their next destination. So we pull up this McDonald's. I'm like, the lobby looks closed or whatever, and so I hop out to go see, right, and to go check the door and shit, and I walk up, and there's these 2 ducks, I guess, taking like shelter from the rain, under the awning at the McDonald's, and I was like, I can't handle this, and I got back in the car, and they were like, what's wrong, man? And I was like, dude, there's these ducks at the door. We just need to go somewhere else. We'll go through the drive-through, right? And yeah, right. And we had some complications at the drive-through. They wouldn't let us like make more than like 2 separate orders or something. So we're just gonna go to a gas station. Just get some gas station food, right? Well, I'm doing all right. Me and the other guy are doing all right. But my other buddy that took the larger amount, he's starting to like lose his shit a little bit, slightly. So we pull up in this gas station, and I go in, we're inside, everything's cool or whatever. He comes in, he looks like he's seen a ghost, and turns around and goes back out and gets his tag partner up. He's like, man, you got to go in there. They should not be in there right now. And so brother walks in, and he figured we were in there like doing a spot or something like that, right? And he walks in, and I'm just like calmly looking through the snacks. Other dudes like reading a magazine or something, and it was wild, man. We almost didn't make it back. Just the rain, and then like, I go out and talk to my other buddy. He's crying at this point. Like he's like, man, we're never getting out of Florida. We've been driving for like 4 hours, and we're still in Florida. I was like, bro, we've been on the road maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. I was like, it's not, it's not going to be that bad. And fortunately, after we had, I think it was 14 hours from Miami to Bluefield or whatever, we ended up not being able to make it because the rain was just so bad that we just weren't able to go. We were going on the interstate doing like 40 miles an hour. It's just the rain was so bad, right? And so thankfully, after that, after that wore off, that was only like a couple of hours. We were all like back to normal again, and we weren't able to make it. The storm had been so bad. We go into Stenny's, and we're trying to get food or whatever, and the cook just quits and like cusses the waitress out, and he like, flips the table over on the way out the door and shit like that. And these 4 waitresses are they're just there shocked, and I'm like, man, I'll be so glad to get back to Virginia. I'm gonna kiss the ground when we get back to Virginia. It was just that was my first real long, lengthy like road trip. Um, and yeah, it was a hell of a way, man, to 12 hours and working too, and then having to get in the car, and that really sucks too. You get all these bumps and bruises, and then you're sitting in like one fixed position for a long amount of time. It's hard on your body, and then just the mental stress of everything we went through. But I learned a valuable lesson about not doing hallucinogens on road trips that night for sure. Yeah. Yeah, he was freaking out, man. He was not. I was a little concerned. I was like, dude, these guys are never gonna let me go anywhere with them again. I done got his tag partner all fucked up. I was like, oh my god, but it was fine. They were cool. Right. Be coming back to West Virginia soon, I'm sure. Definitely looking forward to helping furthering Cadillac in his career, and see, just he's got potential. He does. He's got a lot of potential. We just got to get him a little more seasoning. Um, Pure Pro, we got Rage in the Cage this weekend in Ridgeway, Virginia. Um, we got Rage in the Cage this weekend. We got our big show, Super Clash, coming up in April. We're doing a special 2-day event. Night one will be in Danville, Virginia, at the skate town in Danville, Virginia. And night two will be at the Franklin County High School, my old high school, in the Central Gym. And it's going to be two fairly big shows for us, back to back there. Yeah, and I'm just focusing on growing the Gigolo brand and trying to get to look more places. This past year's been fairly busy for me. I got to wrestle in over 10 different states. Yeah, it's been really good. If you really got to make this everything you do. If you're not all in, you're not going to get anywhere. If you just want to be a local guy that works his hometown once a month, that's cool. But if you're not in this business to try to get as far as you can and make as much money as you can, then I don't understand what you're really doing. Um, I'm really just focusing on growing that brand, and I really do like helping the newer guys out when I can. Because I've had a lot of ups and downs and stuff like that, but I've got to do a lot of cool stuff too, and I've got to learn from a lot of guys. I got to work Rhett Titus from Ring of Honor just this past last year. I worked with him twice, once when we were in DC and then once in Danville, Virginia. So I'm just really focusing on growing the brand and helping grow Pure Pro Wrestling and all the promotions that I work for. I'm sure I'll be back to PWL soon. I always enjoy going up there and working with Jeff. He's a pretty good guy. I caught a little bit of his the match he had with Riddle, and it was really good, and I'm happy for him. That's really good for it's really good for the whole scene up there in West Virginia. I've wrestled in West Virginia a lot. I think the first time I ever worked in West Virginia was for Mountain State. A dude named Leonard Sims, NWA Mountain State. I think I worked White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. Now, I was up there one time in like Bluefield or Beckley when they had because they were an NWA affiliate at the time, and so they would get the NWA heavyweight champion like once a year, which was Adam Pierce at the time, I think. Um, trying to think who else. They had the Dudleys in one time, or Team 3D, because they had the NWA North American tag belts or something like that. Um, so I've done most of my career in North Carolina, partly because we have an athletic commission here in Virginia, and you have to be 18. So I spent a lot of my early years in North Carolina and places like Tennessee, West Virginia, until I was old enough to be able to work here. No, we have one here in Virginia. North Carolina doesn't, but I do prefer the commission states sometimes. All right, so it creates a barrier to kind of keep some of the mud shows and stuff out because you have to have a promoter's license. Here in Virginia, you have to have a promoter's license every year, an event license for every show, a booker's license, and then I have to carry a license as a professional wrestler, professional wrestling boxing license. So what that does is it creates a little bit of a barrier to separate out some of the people that probably shouldn't be doing this from some of the people that should. And some states, Virginia used to be like this. You used to have a physical. I know. I want to say Maryland. I think you have to have a physical. South Carolina requires a physical, and Kentucky. I just got my Kentucky license not too long ago. Had to have a physical for that. And I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to having a physical and there being some kind of structure there, just for the guy's safety, or what I mean, for my safety. Things like Virginia requires you to have guardrails, which is nice. Which for a guy like me, I do appreciate those guardrails being there for sure. There's been some times I've been in places where there's nothing between you, and not that the guardrail is really going to stop anybody, but it's at least going to give me a second to realize what's going on. Um, but just the little things like that, it does help in those ways. I get the side that it shouldn't. We don't really need an athletic commission for. I understand, why people are against that and stuff like that. But and at the same time, I think there needs to be some kind of regulation for that. I don't agree that it should be taxed like a regular sport. I'm 100% don't agree with that. And that's one thing the athletic commission does is they tax it like a regular sport. It does. It does. But I mean, I'm not saying that also at the same time it's not a money racket also for the state or whatever, and I think that there should be somebody if you're going to sit on the board of professional wrestling for your state, then you should have at least done something in the business. They just hire. I don't know where they get these people from. You know what I mean? They hire these people that never done it, never took a bump in their life. And all of a sudden they're the governing body over professional wrestling in your state. So it's like anything. It has its flaws. Nah. The wrestling business is on its ass, buddy. It's on. I mean, it's good in probably some places, but you got to think they took a business where a mostly cash business where people all over the country, there were workers all over the country that were able to make a living doing this. Now it's a handful of guys at the very top that are able to make a living doing this. And if you, I think it goes through peaks and valleys. I think it'll come back. But I think it's been hurt. It's been hurt a lot. I think that the in the late '80s, early '90s, the boys really quit taking care of the business like they had in years past, and now we're paying that price. And the guys like me are paying that price now. I think the best thing that could happen is we go back to small regional promotions. Um, I think that's the better way. That's the way that this business should be presented. 'Cause when you get on the national scale like that, then it's really shifted. There's not places to go. Um, there's not other than like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Nobody's really running shows. Other Joe does the deal on Thursdays. But there's not a lot of places that you can go work and make a living. There's not a lot of places that guys can just go move for 6 months and learn from people who make towns and actually be on the road and be able to support themselves. Um, but it can be done, but it's extremely difficult. There's been plenty of times where I've been doing a 2 or 3 day loop, and you're dependent on the money you make from the payoff in your merch sales to be able to eat that night and get to the next town. I've been in that situation many a times, and that's why I take this business very seriously. And that's why I take like merchandise and stuff, my gimmick table very, very seriously. 'Cause that could make or break you at this point. But it's not in a good place and compared to what it was been. I feel like things are getting better slowly. I feel like we're in that valley working our way out though. It goes through peaks and valleys, and I hope it'll come back around. I hope it will. Um, but it's just not what it should be. It's not the place it should be. It ought to be. You guys ought to be able to do this, be able to make a living. There ought to be places you can go and work that are regular running territories. Oh yeah, yeah, we all do. Yeah. Well, you could just um, I'd say the valley would be when I was working in Bell, North Carolina, in the rain in front of 50 people. But the peak would be This past year, I worked on the National Cannabis Convention in front of probably 2,000 people. The River City Wrestling Con. I was on the River City Wrestling Con with my former tag team, the Stone Age Boys, um, working with Amish Country in front of hundreds of people. Every big name in the business you could think of was on this Comic Con. Um, that was a really good moment for me, a really cool moment for me. The Dylan DC was great. Just sometimes some nights you scratch with the chickens, some nights you soar with the Eagles. It's just hit or miss, you know. But it is hard going and doing those big shows and then having to go back to some little small show in bumfuck Tennessee somewhere in front of 12 people, and you know what I mean. And that's the thing there. If you dwell on it, it'll drive you crazy. It will drive you up the wall. Um, you just got to go out there and roll with the punches. And I'm always thankful for any kind of exposure I can get. And you try to have fun. You just try to make the best of every situation. But it'll be times just in a weekend that you go from a huge show somewhere, a couple hundred people, something like that, and the next night you're in front of 10 people in a rec center somewhere, and it helps keep your ego in check for sure. Yeah, it can change any minute. Yeah, they're a lot smarter now. I'm a big proponent of keeping the business sacred. I'm not going to break kayfabe to a certain extent, but I will say they're smarter, and a lot of our tools have been taken away from us because everybody knows so much. Um, they're I want to say they're a lot more demanding because they're desensitized from all the deathmatch stuff that they see and all the stuff on TV that they see. They see the guy on TV hit a Canadian destroyer off the top and then kick out at two. Well, when they come to their local wrestling show on a Friday night, Saturday night, they're expecting to see the same thing. Um, they It is regionally a little different. I've been up north a bunch. Yeah, I've been worked in Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, places like that, and they're even they're even worse up there. They're even they think they're smarter. You a lot of smart marks and shit like that up there. But really, this style that I work, that southern style, if you do it right, it'll get over anywhere in the world. I don't care where you go. It'll get over. It'll work. But up north, they're a little more violent. They like a little more violence and a little more work rate. That's what they consider. You know what I mean? And another difference is too. Down here, all I got to do is look to people and tell them, "Shut up! Don't start clapping." And 9 times out of 10, they're gonna start clapping and get louder. Up north, sometimes that shit don't work. You got to work a little bit, to really get them to hate you or love you. One of the two, and that you got to really be bumping and stuff like that. There's no working a hold or something like that for a couple minutes and stuff. They're gonna shit all over that immediately. Whereas down here, you can kind of get by with that a little bit more. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You can find me at Gigolo Josh at Facebook.com. I do all my merchandise and stuff through my Facebook, so you can DM me for your Gigolo shirts, 8x10s, all that stuff. Also, check out Pure Pro Wrestling at Facebook also, and all their dates will be listed there. And all my dates and stuff, I don't have them right with me here this moment. But this weekend, of course, I'll be in Ridgeway, Virginia. I have all the other dates there for Pure Pro. We got the Super Clash coming up in April. Um, I have a Patreon, Gigolo Josh at Patreon. You can follow me on Patreon, support me on Patreon. I really appreciate you letting me come on here and kind of sharing my story. It's been a long, long trip from 11 to now, from 11 years old to now, and I'm still booked every. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's been a long, strange trip from 11 years old to 29. I've gave my life pretty much to this business. Everything that I do in my regular life revolves around professional wrestling and what I'm doing. I put everything I've got into this, and I'm going to continue to do that until I either die or I physically can't do it anymore, or I make it. That's the only options at this point. Yeah, it's easy to do. It's easy to do. Um, I love the professional wrestling business, but I love the Josh Valen business even more, and I think that's what keeps me going. I got a high school diploma, and I give them hell attitude, and that's what seems to get me by. I love the business I do. The people in it are what I don't like sometimes. That really that really gets on my nerves, and it is easy to get jaded. It is, but I always humble myself, and I always think back to when I was a kid up at camp, and I was struggling to learn this, and the only thing I wanted to be able to do was be good at this. And I just keep trying to grow and stay good at this, and you constantly learn. You never stop learning. I learn something new all the time. And I think the fact that I realize I still need to keep learning is what keeps my passion alive for this. Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to be back. When the end comes, I know they'll say he was just a gigolo.